Good morning to you. Welcome to Gainsborough Studio. We're a little bit on the drag, I'm afraid. We've got a little bit of confusion between our multi-purpose studios, both of radio at the station and of television here in Gainsborough Road. But we have our guests for today. But before we move on to our guests, let us look at what appears to be happening around and about the Felixstowe Peninsula. I don't know whether you saw this shocking headline that was in Monday's Felixstowe Star, and it's talking about the possibility of the demolition of both our leisure centre, which is less than 30 years old, and Brackenbury Sports Centre, which is what, about 10 years old or so? It's if you remember, it was inherited at a knockdown price from the Ladies' College when they went bankrupt. I'm really starting to find it very difficult to understand what our council officers and elected members value in our town. We need sporting facilities to keep our community healthy, certainly our young people. We've got a major problem with obesity. We're looking at longer life expectancy. Well, let's keep people healthy in that longer life expectancy. Now, apparently it's some scheme that somebody's worked up to free up land to put housing on. So it's not going to give you a green space. And it would appear currently our district council is more interested in getting a house build bonus than they are in looking after or reflecting the views of our community. Now, I've got today, unusually for me, an aid to this broadcast, and this is the aid. You might recognise it. It's a beach hut, and you may or may not be aware of the fact that our council now is using as a criteria of what it charges people, not what it may have cost them and what inflation is, but what market rates may be for whatever it is that they're dealing with. That's not what local government is about, or if it was, perhaps you didn't vote for it, or perhaps the next time around you really need to think about whether you want somebody there that's looking at the greater good of the community rather than market value, which is a terrible comparison. I mean, perhaps you could ring in and tell us what the current market value of a heart might be, or a kidney, or a retina, or somebody gives willingly to another human being to let them have a better quality of life. So let's go away from the high bits and bobs, and let's deal with the realities of why would you cut off a significant bit of the back end of this beach hut? And we have this morning with us a young guest. Welcome, Barbara Grace.
Thank you. To
the Gainsborough Studio. And hopefully we're going to have a little chat about the why, the what, the where, and the how. And apparently you're arranging an exciting event on Easter Monday.
Easter Monday, yes.
So tell us why we're here. What happened? I mean, you've lived here for how many years?
13 years.
And during that period, at some point, you acquired a beach hut, bought a beach hut.
Yes, 9 years ago,
right.
We were lucky enough to purchase a beach hut from a neighbour.
Right.
Right in the front row at Brackenbury Cliff, and it's absolutely delightful.
Don't big it up too much, or they'll be charging you for the view. Now, so you acquired this beach hut 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And you paid what you thought was a reasonable price.
Oh yeah.
And they would undoubtedly say that was the market value at the time.
Yes.
For the hut itself,
yeah.
Because people may not be aware the huts belong to those people who occupy them, and all they do from the council is rent a bit of space to put that hut on. The huts are not owned by the council, are they?
That's correct.
Whereas the chalets are.
Yeah.
So there's two groups of sort of usage and rental.
That's correct.
So you went for the exciting beach hut bit.
Yes, because my grandchildren were all quite young then, and it just was in a super place.
Right.
And it was very affordable. And we'd taken early retirement,
right.
The pair of us, and we moved to Felixstowe, our choice, because it was just absolutely wonderful place to live.
Right.
However, in the 9 years, the last 3 years, I think maybe since 2010, 2011,
right.
Suddenly the site fee has just escalated to the point of, this year, it escalated itself 12%, which meant that my beach hut suddenly became £800 for
Really?
the site fee.
So if we go back, 8% and inflation rate is what, 2.7, 2.6?
Yes, just under.
So this is what, 4 times
Yeah.
the inflation rate.
Yeah.
And previously, had the council utilised the inflation rate as the price rise indicator?
Well, to be perfectly honest,
or even less?
Every year that the fee came in, we just paid it because there was nothing daunting about it. It just we just happily paid it. We were paying for something, the facility that we absolutely loved and adored.
Right.
But then it suddenly started to, almost at the same time as we hit this massive recession.
Yes.
So understandably, you swallow it for a couple of hits.
Seasons, yeah.
But then this year, in fact, when the bill came, it was sent out, and when I saw it, I just straight away thought, oh my God, they've made a mistake.
Oh, right.
So I sent an email in and said, obviously you've made a mistake by sending this bill out to me for £800. If it isn't a mistake, I'd like to know why you've suddenly hiked the price up to this amount. And the thing that was so annoying, we never got a response.
Did you not?
So weeks went by, and then I was away on holiday at Christmas. I came back and suddenly I read in the local paper that the hike will go ahead. And nobody had even acknowledged the fact that I'd sent in a complaint.
Right. So how many others that you knew of had responded in a similar way?
Well, according to the newspaper, there were 40 people that did respond.
Right.
But nevertheless, it doesn't matter. It doesn't cost anything to acknowledge a complaint. And this is half of the problem.
Well, you do need some back office staff to deal with it, don't you?
Yes.
And I think what is true, and many of us have been finding this over recent months, if not years, the depth of number of bodies to actually deal with your response is getting less and less. Very hard to get out of somebody who can actually give you an answer
and
to a query.
That is absolutely right. And the worst scenario, when I did finally, after sending in to Mr. Holcroft to say to him that he must be a very ignorant man to just ignore my communication.
So Mr. Holcroft is?
Jeff Holcroft. He's the cabinet member for leisure.
Oh, right, so he's the elected member.
Yes.
He's actually supposed to be there to, well, guide delivery as the electorate who elected him wished it to be. Where does he come from, do you know?
I have no idea, but I presume...
it's not a coastal...
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Right.
Anyway, the response came back to say that because nobody had made any waves over this, there wasn't a ward meeting called, so therefore it will go ahead.
Really?
So then I'm starting to think, well, I need to seriously know who the hell we voted for, because why did there was no knowledge from the...
So did the town council become involved or not? I mean, I know that they are not either the landowner or the administrator of beach huts, though it has been said for many a long year that perhaps they should be, because the beach huts are unique to Felixstowe.
That's right.
So perhaps the money that is raised here should stay here. Well, in that regard, anyway.
To be perfectly honest, since there's been a lot of communication now, and obviously we've started an association, which was my idea.
Right.
It didn't come from anybody up there at Woodbridge. It was my idea that I suddenly thought we need to have a voice.
Indeed.
And Mr. Holcroft actually said to me that there was nothing stopping us from starting an association, but I didn't realise that I had to have permission, or that I needed to have an association. I thought my well-being was being taken care of by a council elected.
There's an article in the Ipswich Star of Wednesday, March the 27th, page 13. That's not a good page number, is it?
No.
And it reads pretty much as a press release, really. It's sort of they're doing you a favour by allowing you to exist, and they've now reconsidered your payment terms, and they'll go to 4 quarters instead of 4 months, and some other marginal bits around the edges. But it's sort of, Yes, I mean, I don't see that
That,
it actually addresses the,
no, I did
the
read.
real concerns of
No.
both the beach hut and tent. I mean, what seems to be strange, and you, I think, as a group, seem to have teased this out, is we've got towards 1,000 beach hut chalets. The revenue from that is quite a considerable sum of money, towards £500,000, and the claim of what it costs to administer seems disproportionately high. Perhaps they should get market forces looking at that rather than the value of the beach hut. But there seems to be a surplus of about 300 and odd £100,000 available at the end of that,
Yeah.
which is actually greater than the sum of money that we've ever supported the Spa Theatre, say.
Yes.
For instance, with. And what do they use this money for? Is this money, I mean, is there any guarantee it comes back into the resort to strengthen the resort attraction and its offers?
Well, obviously, there's evidence that you only have to look at the result to see that obviously the money is not going back into our resort, it's going to other places.
Right.
And this is half the reason that has fired people up. Unbeknown to me, Julie Downton had started a little association whereby she called a meeting
Right.
from the Mrs. Simpson's end.
Yes, yes.
At Cotman. So we had our little, and I think Mr. Herring was sort of expecting to have 25 people maybe.
Mr. Herring, by the way, viewer, is the leader of Suffolk Coastal District Council.
Yeah.
And has presided over our council, I think, for the last 3 terms, which is about 12 years. And one thing that has been happening is every year there are less members on the cabinet, which means to say it's a smaller and smaller group who make all the key decisions that affect you and my life in our district. So
yeah,
you met this gentleman. He came to see
yes,
us.
he came to see us. By this time, because of the publicity of my taking it upon myself to cut 18 inches off the back of the hut, this was a publicity thing.
So this is your beach hut.
Yes.
So by cutting 18 inches off the back of it, you reduced the floor space.
Yes.
Which meant that your rental reduced from
nearly 800 to just over 600. So it's almost £200 difference.
So you save that year on year by just that amount. So,
yeah.
But that's a bit bizarre, isn't it? Because if you had an extraordinarily thin, with no back, yes, I mean it's the frontage that counts pretty much, isn't it? It's all front.
It's
yeah, we won't go there, but you can see the idea. The general they charge in a quite strange way compared to other resorts. It would appear.
This is the thing. When I queried the amount, and it was so variable, just along the front row where I am.
Yeah.
Raising from 840 down to 520. So I thought, well, why is this such a great big? So it made me more aware that I need to look into this. This is how come I found out. We did a data comparison on the computer, and I printed off from Brighton all the way up the east coast up to us and beyond to Southwold. And there isn't one council there that charges the exorbitant, I can't say that word, amount of money. We are paying time and a half again.
Are you really?
On average. We were actually compared in one newspaper article that Richard Cornwell had printed, that we were Mr.
Well, I think that's quite a nice.
Yes, that's the one.
That's when the beach hut went.
Yes, it actually said that we were going to be paying this amount of money because of the facilities, because of all the provisions that are provided, but there are none. There are none. Okay. The toilets, the cleansing of the beaches and the cleansing of the promenade, the looking after of the gardens, none of these things have been happening. So
But could I just come in there? The provision of toilets, the cleanliness of the beach, etc., is something that one would need to provide as a seaside resort for the visitors that you would expect to come to the resort if you were running it as a seaside resort. Those services that you just listed are not exclusive to people who have a beach hut. I mean, it's not as if you've got a key that only allows you and your fellow beach huts folks into the toilet, or I mean, they're not exclusive, are they? You go and you pay your penny and you take your chance. And equally, I mean, you do have a standpipe, but one would assume others could use that for their dogs if they were walking it, or for themselves. I mean, really, one would assume what you want to know from.
You have one part of the council telling us that no, you just pay purely for your site, and then you have the cabinet people saying to us, well, we provide all this, this and this, which brings me to the other point.
But because, not exclusively. It is sort of provided, yes, but not as well as it used to be.
But like I pointed out, well, in that case, I already am a Felixstowe resident, so therefore my council tax obviously is paying for these things. And I said, when I passed the data comparison around to the people that turned up to the meeting, which was brimming full, there was over 125 people in that hall. We had to turn people away. Mr. Herring was quite shocked at the data that I provided him with. So, and I also said, will you please note as well that if you are a council tax payer, in the result, every result offers a concession of 50%.
Well, they do that if they're burying you. If you live in the peninsula, that's Felixstowe, Trimleys, I think if you are a resident and your final journey to the graveyard, you get a 50% discount on some of the burial bits. Need to look at that. But that's a Felixstowe Town Council provision, not a district. And one of the problems we have, don't we, across the whole piece is nobody quite knows which arm of which council is doing what to whom and for why.
Exactly.
And it is very difficult to. I mean, you've now been drilling down into it, haven't you? So you've sort of found out the level of knowledge and who actually knows what about which, and often it would appear the only person that used to know was recently made redundant, so nobody quite knows how that works now.
And quite frankly, with just the information that I've been finding out, there doesn't seem to be any one department up there at Melton that seem to be working hand in hand with our people that are our representatives down here at the town hall. So Jane Allett seems to be running, because a lot of the work now that we have passed over to them up there, the cabinet people, are being passed down to her, and she doesn't really know. So you sort of, at the end of the day, I honestly think that every department up there needs to be looked into, because nobody seems to, and everything is so complicated. They don't make so. Yes, absolutely unnecessarily so. And on account of that, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So we've been providing data. We've asked for FOIs and things to be produced, and we've asked for more clarity. We would like to know if they are going to take this extortionate amount of money from us. We would like to know that it's going back to our town. Well, I think we'd all wish that. Sadly, we know the probable answer that it isn't. But it shouldn't be like that. But I think that's one of the reasons why Felixstowe has been in decline for several years, on the basis of, well, we just need to look at the SPAR, don't we? We just need to look at what they're now proposing for Brackenbury. I mean, I don't quite know where the strategic thinking is coming from there, and whether it's just driven by laissez-faire market forces, but that isn't what a good resort relies upon. It relies upon, well, actually, I would have thought some loyalty from the hotel providers, the bed space providers, the food, entertainment. All of those folks need a bit more of a sort of undertaking that will do what's best in light of the resort, not what might be best for one particular market force of a part of it. I'm sort of strange to think what our predecessors, why they actually raised a lot of money, delivered a lot of assets for our town to be a very good seaside, and they seem to have just drifted away. Well, been demolished, gone. This is the heart-wrenching side of this hike on this beach hut thing, because several of the owners, we've only lived here for 13 years. I've had my beach hut for 9 years. There are people that have lived and worked in Felixstowe all their life. They're retired now.
Right.
They own their beach huts and they can't afford their rent this year. Their site fee.
I thought there was a profile given to your group when it met with the councillors and the officers as to what the expected beach hut owner looked like and what their income level was.
Yes.
And so what was that, and how far away from reality was it?
Absolutely. Well, when we sat at Cabinet, there were 6 of us. From the meeting, I was able to narrow it down to who I thought would be good to come on board with me and Julie, and we've got 6 excellent people there.
Right.
And we were all once working professionals.
Right.
So we weren't on 6-figure sums then, and we were accused of being 6-figure pensioned people.
Really?
No, I'm not kidding.
So where did this sort of illusionary view of what beach hut owners are coming from? I mean, it may be true in Southwold, but then Southwold is rather unique and very special to itself,
yes.
And it's looked after itself for every year and year, because what it has is its resort.
Yeah. We
have some alternative employment opportunities to our resort, which perhaps is why the resort has been falling and falling and falling.
Exactly.
But, so this 6-figure sum was, I mean, as you said, there are families who've been there forever. Forever and ever.
I think this it was the fact of coming up with because I've taken on board various people's names and addresses who would be struggling this year,
right.
And I think this is probably one of the reasons that they've had to give some levy to the fact that this is their gesture, because I said we need to have a gesture of some sort this year, and I think the gesture being that the quarterly payments,
so at least they can save for their beach hut.
Yeah.
Now there seemed to be an assumption that a lot of the beach huts were privately let on a daily or weekly basis to people who might wish to hire them. Is that a sort of an active activity?
We only noticed it, as I say, 3 years ago. The price of the beach huts the site was raised. So therefore, people who were struggling at that time decided to rent their huts out. So they went through the council to do this renting. They was encouraged by the council to rent out during the peak season.
Well, I think, if I'm right, and I need to remember, and I wouldn't wish to misquote, I had a feeling that the district wished to realise assets, so it actually sold off a number of beach huts that it itself did own, that it used to provide that service to our tourists. So they would come in and they'd go to the tourist office and say, can I rent a beach hut for 3 days a day or whatever. And at a point in the life of the beach huts, that used to happen because the district owns some. But I have a feeling that they turned that into money, so they couldn't even offer that service to our visiting.
So it was
our few visiting tourists.
When our bulletin came out to say how much we were going to be paying, they said if you were going to find it difficult, why not rent it out? And so some of the people, quite a few people, did rent out during the 6 weeks kids' school holidays. But then the council were getting 15% of that as well.
Were they really?
Yes.
That was their management fee.
That would probably, yes.
So they've obviously been in boxing or something else. And, did they carry the insurance responsibility? Did they pay the tax to the Inland Revenue?
Probably. I don't know. I pass on that because I can't comment.
I just wondered, because it is, if you're going to do those things, you've got to do it properly, haven't you?
Well, to be perfectly honest, in general,
is it worth the hassle? If it's the 6 weeks the family's there, why would you be renting it out?
It's just, mate, it's caused very bad feeling, and it makes you feel quite aggrieved. If we felt that our money that we were spending out was going back to the resort, it cushions the blow. But when we find out that basically Felixstowe and the docks are a massive provider of finances to the council, but then it doesn't come back to us. And this is where we need to really seriously do something about this. We have to, because it just causes, total bad feeling. I loved my hut for the 9 years I've had it, and this year we haven't done the outside, but we've finished inside now. We can't paint it and pretty it up until the weather gets better outside. But I mean, anybody that's out walking the street, if you're along Brackenbury and you stop to come along there, you can't miss our hut. It's up there called Idle Hours. You're welcome for a cup of tea anytime.
You'll probably have a long queue starting over the Easter months.
Especially over the Easter walk, yes. Yeah. But I mean, the walk we've decided to do because we really
Have you got a band?
No, we haven't got a band. But
any musicians out there who could do a Hamlin type, Pied Piper type, whatever?
But we've got lots of voice, so we'll be singing.
And that is from Mannering?
Yes, it starts, it's on Easter Monday. I understand it's going to be cold but bright.
Oh, it'll be very healthy. Healthy for it.
Very nice. And we will take in the sights as we walk along our town, our seafront, our promenade that's being just ripped apart.
Yeah.
We'll be able
to... now, it would appear on the route that you're going to be taking.
Yes.
You will be able to point out the leisure centre possible demolition prospect. The Spar now, you can add to that, can't you? Because I understand there will be a meeting at Woodbridge on the Tuesday, that's the 2nd, isn't it?
Yes.
Following Bank Holiday Monday is the Cabinet meeting where they will discuss the Spar, apparently. And the bids have been put in by our local groups, apparently have been rejected and won't even be discussed by the Cabinet in public. So we are in very, I mean, if now the only criteria for a service provision is what its market worth is, we're at a very, very sad day for the resort of Felixstowe.
Absolutely.
I feel, on the basis if you were to look to Captain Prettyman and Tomlin and whatever, obviously they took a long-term view of what the impact would be of providing a railway, putting in the sea defences, putting in the roads. But not as basic. I mean, this is amazing to me.
I mean, in general consensus, we've walked through town. We're quite recognisable now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, what name have you ended up with for the association, or are you still working?
We're still working on that, but actually we've got the draft together now for the Constitution.
Good.
And all will be announced by the end of, I think, by the end of this week. So as we go into Easter, once Easter is over and past, it will all be announced.
Because the season kicks off.
Yes,
or
pretty
it
much.
Should
It should.
Now, because I went and helped your husband when he cut the back.
Yeah.
And we had to put it down, lift it up, put it down, lift it up, because BBC East wanted to do a dramatic drop.
Yes.
Which he achieved. Thank you very much, cameraman. You did cover that very well.
Yeah, it did.
I noticed a number of empty sites, gaps. There weren't beach huts there at all. So what's the basis of the market rate? If the belief is that they're undervalued and whatever, there wouldn't be any gaps there, surely. I mean, how many pitches currently are empty throughout the resort? Do we know? Do they know? Could they tell you?
Well, no, and we actually have a very good idea. However, at the meeting, when we met on their turf, Simon asked the question 6 times during the 2 hours we were there.
Right. He did a Paxman, did he?
And we never got, and so it's become a joke. So the market value has literally become a joke.
Right. So nobody really knows.
No,
it's one of these.
We have a
Oh, right.
We have a very good idea.
Right.
We do.
And yours is based on actual knowledge of what things are happening there.
But
why are the gaps? That's what I'm a bit surprised about. If they're saying that they're currently being undercharged, then it's that much better a value. And if that's the case, the market forces that exist, we're told, they still be filled up, shouldn't they?
Well, exactly.
Or is their figuring of what the market value is over-egged?
Well, this market value thing, as I say, is quite quite a red herring.
Yeah.
To Mr. Herring.
Mr. Herring. Yeah. Yes. Oh, Ray's had that before, his red herring. Now, let's just inform the folk when it is your meeting is taking place. And it was sitting in one of these wonderful bits of paper, but you've got it there, haven't you? So the meeting is the march or walk. I mean, it's a very health-giving walk. In fact, I think NHS Suffolk used to promote a walk of that sort of length for you to engage in to become pretty healthy. So it's what, about 2 miles? Is it?
Yes, I think it is. It's just I think it's just slightly over.
So you've got toilets at the start. Well, you've still got toilets at the start, haven't you? By Manning's there. Then you've got toilets down at the leisure centre, assuming it's still open.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how long that will be. Then you've got toilets as you get up towards Cobbold's Point. So for those of you who may need that facility, and there are a lot more of us who do on a more regular basis, that's there. But equally, you will have places along the way for cups of tea and coffee, won't you?
Well, basically,
you've got Mrs. Hamilton. Mrs. Simpson
yeah.
At the end of the trip.
Yes.
Sadly, the fludges won't be open.
No.
But it will at some stage, I'm sure.
The whole point of it is...
so really, it's anybody who has an interest in the resort, perhaps, rather than...
It is.
Because this is, you know, the folks just see things being lost, no longer here, the actual sort of spread of things that are on offer be now, I mean, now sports at risk, which seems to me, having just had the Olympics and the enthusiasm, why would you even be considering?
Well, to be perfectly honest,
this?
It's totally alien to what the government want you to do anyway.
So, I mean, come on, let's have a little bit more thought. So, if you fancy a nice little walk on Monday, 11 a.m., kick yourself down to Manor Terrace, and a little walk to the end there. It'll do you the world of good. Join it for the whole of it or part of it.
Yeah, and it, as I say, it's we literally would say it's for the beach hut and chalet. We instigated this, and that's why we decided to make it a walk, because we just decided, friends of Felixstowe, if you're interested, please come along. Yeah,
great. So there we go then. So I'm not sure what the coverage will be coming out of here over the Easter. I do understand we're going to be doing the never-ending life story of young Eric tomorrow morning, and he looks as if he's going to go on way past 110, so many more years that we can talk about what he may be doing or not. But thank you for joining us this morning. What we will be doing, we'll be joining this interview with the film that we shot, both of the 18 inches being removed, and some of you will be very glad to think you could do that, and also the public meeting that was held at the Trade and Labour Club up at Walton. And if you're interested in what's happening to our resort, come along on Monday. Thank you very much for viewing. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.